Our goal is to do things that no other law firm has ever done before.
Our technology brings the future to you today.
We're the next era in the way legal transactions are handled.
Perfect. I am really excited you guys all joined me today on this webinar, and I'm actually going to be doing a 3-in-1. I'm going to be sharing with you guys a tool that you can download, and we're looking at it right here. This is for your time management, so this is a daily tool that you can print off at your printer in your office or at home. You can modify this. It's in a Word document, so it's easy to edit, and this is a way for you to prioritize on the things that you need to do, like following up with your leads, prospecting, and managing your time more efficiently. Then I'm going to share with you a PowerPoint presentation on how I follow up with leads. So if you need to work a database, I'm going to share with you my rules that apply to any database. So it doesn't make sense for you to generate more leads if you're not already following up with the ones that you've already got. So I'm going to share with you my simple solution that will work with any database on how to maintain contact and follow up with people. Then, at the end of it, I'm going to walk through a Word document, and you're going to be able to print that off and go through a 90-day game plan that shows you how to reconnect with your sphere of influence. So first of all, let me start off with this Word document here. I'm going to open it up in OneNote. And I'll zoom out so you can see this piece of paper. So this is obviously a Word document. You can print this off. And what I want to share with you is the different elements to it. So it's basically like an accountability sheet. So if you're a team or you're getting leads or you have a manager or you are the manager and you want to keep people accountable, this is a piece of paper that you and your group can print off and work daily. So this is, I want to start with the top right. I'm going to zoom into the top right of the piece of paper, and it's a 45-minute kickstart. So every day, before I even open up Facebook, before I open up my email, because all of those are reactionary things, and they're pulling your attention away. But if you, as a person, focused on your number one things daily and got them done first, you, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, even 3 days a week, you would be killing what other agents are up to. So my 45-minute kickstart looks like this. I have a goal over here. Let me draw with the pen here. Can you see? Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. So over on the right side, I have a goal of 9. So while I'm working away, I made mine as follow-up calls, prospecting, and sending a gratitude or handwritten note. And my goal is to do 9 of that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be within 45 minutes. It could be a little bit longer. But what I do is I set an egg timer. You know those cooking timers that are in your kitchen? I'll grab an old school one of those, set it for 45 minutes, and I can't do anything except for one of these 3 things. And you can edit this to be whatever you want. Maybe you don't need to prospect. Maybe you don't like sending gratitude written notes. You can edit and write whatever you want. So whatever the case is, I have a goal of 9, so as I'm doing it, I'll just fill in these smiley faces. So maybe I do 3 of that, I do 4 of this, and I do a couple of that. So my goal is on a daily basis, 5 days a week, to try and at least get 9 of these 3 things done. And so it's easy when you break it down this way. You're like, okay, I got to do 9. I don't have any leads to follow up with. So then maybe you do all gratitude notes. The cool thing is when you're sending gratitude notes and handwritten letters to people, it actually is an exercise for you to fill up and complete your database. You'll have people, you don't have their address, so what do? You pick up the phone, you give them a call and say, hey, I'm about to send you a card. What's your mailing address? Oh, I noticed I don't have your email either. So it's an easy way for you to actually fill in your database, and then you can have a real estate conversation while you're at it. So I set the 45-minute egg timer, and I don't do anything else. Now, we all have a list of things that we have to do today. So in this example, I have number 1 as being the 45-minute kickstart, but maybe you got you have an ad that has to go in the newspaper and you have to get that in by 5 o'clock. You got a new listing coming up and you have to order the photographer and the lockbox and the signpost. So you got a new listing, and then maybe you got an open house this weekend, so you got to print off the feature sheets and the open house registration. I'll just put open house, and then maybe you got to order up some new business cards. So what you do is you write off a couple of the things that you have to get done, but then you prioritize them. So I've got the new listing, that's super important. I'm going to make that priority number 2. The newspaper thing has to get done by at least 5 o'clock, so I'm going to do that as a number 3. I have to get my open house ready. That's obviously more important than the business cards, so I'll put that as 4. And business cards, I'll put that as a 5. Now I know in order of priority what I have to do. So before I get to doing any of this other stuff, I'm going to do my 45-minute kickstart. So let me zoom out and show you the left side of that piece of paper. And you'll notice on the left here that these numbers aren't like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. It's 15-minute increments. So the one thing that I found with you guys on time blocking is you're like, okay, I'm a superstar and I'm going to do my prospecting calls from 9 o'clock till 11 every day. And then what happens? You don't end up doing it. And then because you missed that time of 9 to 11, then you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. No, forget the time. The time doesn't matter. What's really important is that you're actually just doing the activity with the time that you have. Like right now, you guys are on this webinar with me. So after the webinar, you could fill in the blanks based on whatever time you have. So it doesn't matter what time of day it is, it's just what time do you have at this moment. So let me delete this. Okay, so it doesn't matter what time it is. It could be 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever the time is. I'm sitting in my office right now. I'm ready to get started. So I'm going to write number 1, and I'm going to do that for 45 minutes. The funny thing is once I set the egg timer for 45 minutes and I actually work uninterrupted for 45 minutes, it creates the snowball effect and the momentum you need to charge through the rest of your day. So in this example, maybe I go a little past the 45-minute mark because I'm not really done and it takes me 60 minutes. But then I can check that off my list. And what's number 2 is the new listing. So I'm going to write, okay, number 2 over here. And this new listing, it takes a while. I have to do a whole bunch of stuff, so I actually end up going till about 60 minutes later. Get it done. Number 2, new listing. Number 3 is the paper. So I got to call the paper, get that ad put in there. It's only going to take me 15 minutes. So what's happening is I'm just chipping away one thing at a time, and it doesn't matter 9 to 10, 10 to 11. If your manager is telling you that, then that's fine. I mean, do the time blocking, whatever works with you. I'm just trying to create a more organic way and flow that could work for other people if being rigid doesn't work. So this is what I really found worked with me. I'll zoom out to this piece of paper again. Up at the top here, I have the date, so I can sign it and put the date, and I can share that with my accountability partner, my team, or my manager. You could have an accountability partner where you meet weekly or bi-weekly, and then you just bring in all your pieces of paper and you share what worked, what didn't work. Let me zoom in again. So my list for tomorrow. So what I work with today, so maybe I don't get the business cards done today. Well, then I'm just going to add it to my list tomorrow. Biz cards. And what happens with this is when you actually go through the exercise of writing out the things that you have to do tomorrow, what happens is when you go to bed tonight, your subconscious, for many of you, not all of you because you're not all in tune, but some of you, if you do this exercise, it's amazing when you wake up the next day, the clarity you have of the order that you need to get things done, and the solutions just kind of come to you. So I'll rewrite out all the things that I think I want to get done tomorrow. And all the things that I missed today, I'll add them down there as well. One thing that you can't see on the screenshot, let me go back to the Word document and zoom down. There's 2 more things. I want to open this up in OneNote. So at the bottom of the piece of paper, let me zoom in a little more. So at the bottom of this piece of paper is a journal and notes section. So this is like your scratch pad. So if somebody calls you up and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to go look at 123 Street tomorrow at 4, whatever, and you can just make your notes. It's like your own little scratch pad down at the bottom. And then on the left side here is another scratch pad, but for drawing and designing. So you got to do a layout for a new listing you have coming up, and you're doing like a floor plan. You can draw it, or maybe you're working on a new marketing piece and you're creating a landing page and you want to put the video up here and the contact form here and the map here, and you're making notes. So I've always used the grid system for coming up with my designs and marketing pieces. So on a daily basis, at the bottom of my piece of paper, I have all that. So this is going to be a Word document. You guys are going to be able to download this. Let me go back to it and zoom out. So this is what the piece of paper looks like. It's an 8.5/11 sheet of paper in landscape mode. We're going to have different designs and themes and colors for you to pick and choose from, but this is basically what the content is going to look like. So that is my tool for managing my daily activities. It's not so much the time blocking of a certain period, it's more of working with what time do I have right now, and let's chip away at the important priorities and discovering what those priorities are. So that tool alone is well worth, you guys can all basically leave now, because this tool is going to help you on a daily basis for the rest of your career. And because it's a Word document, you can edit it to be your own flavor. So you're like, oh, I don't like this box, I can't draw stuff. You can delete it and add something else that you want there. So very robust, plug and play, and we're going to have different designs and themes and different colors for you guys to download and use, and I'll upload them probably over the weekend. Okay, so that's that part. Now I want to share with you, and I know there was a question. I can't answer the question just yet because my dual monitor isn't working for some reason. So I'll answer the questions at the end, and if you aren't still on the webinar, I'll email you the answer. Okay, so the next step is I want to share with you a presentation that I created. Oh, I can skip this stuff. This is a presentation I created on working a database. So I'm going to share with you how to use contact capture forms and qualify your leads, the 3 rules that work with any database, and I'm going to give you a 90-day referral plan to reconnect with your database. So it all started back in the day. This is a contact capture form, and I'm going to zoom in. But before I do, I want to caution that this is what I looked like when I got into the business. I wasn't angry like this guy looks, but I had notes everywhere. Like a lead would call me and they want to book a showing, and I didn't have paper around, so I would just use an old MLS sheet, or I would use a sticky note, and I just had contacts and information everywhere. It was not a good thing. So I ended up developing this piece of paper, and I'm going to give this to you as a Word document so you can download it and print it. And let's zoom into the top right. On the top right of that piece of paper has the name, the phone number, the email, the source of where this lead came from. When you're on the phone with a person and you're talking about real estate, if you don't have a structured intake form, you're all over the place, ums and ahs, and you're not qualifying them and you're letting them lead the conversation. This piece of paper is going to keep you in control, because ideally they don't want to be on the phone with you, really. And so you got to get off the phone as quickly as possible with people, but you also have to get as much information out of them comfortably without them feeling too pressured. So this piece of paper helps you with that. So the top right is obviously all the contact information, and you'll notice up at the very top it says ID number, and here I wrote 112. So this is ID number 1, ID number 2. This is pieces of paper in a binder, and I'm going to share with you that system. And it's a way for you to not lose leads in the cracks, because you can put a lead in the database, and then they're in the abyss. They're gone forever. You haven't talked to them in 3 years. Like, that is so common. But if they're a true lead and you have all their information, this is a way for you to not leave them behind. I'll go in more detail what that number system is, but I want to point that out. It's up at the top right. This is a scratch pad, so whatever they say, they're having a baby, they're moving from a specific city, these are the MLS numbers, like whatever they say, that's kind of like your scratch pad area. Then I have my buying criteria. So if they are buying, so for me, personally, I'm in Oshawa, Ontario, and the communities that I serve would be Oshawa, Whitby, Pickering, Ajax, Brooklyn, and Bowmanville. They're all within a half-hour driving radius, basically. And if I'm on the phone with a person and I have to say, write out the word Bowmanville, there's so many letters in that word that I'm not actually listening to them while I write it down. So in my Word document, I had all the areas already written. That way I could just check it off or circle it or highlight it. That way the conversation was a lot more flowing. So this person tells me they're looking for all of Durham region. For example, they want a 3-bedroom, a 2-bathroom, a townhouse under 450,000, and they need a garage and blah blah blah. So whatever the variables are, I'll write those out, but all the other stuff I pre-printed it. That way I can just check it off, like tick 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 tick, and it's a lot quicker for me to do that than it is to write out all of the words. Now, if they are going to be buying a home, I instantly jump up to the top left, which is their qualifying questions. And let me go back to the buying stuff. So I'll repeat what they're looking at buying. So I'll be like, okay, perfect. You're looking for all of Durham region. You need a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse under 450, and you need a garage. Now, if you were to move, when would you like to move by? And you can see how that repeating what they're looking for as a buyer and then asking this question, if you were to move, when would you like to move by? It flows. It's very organic. And whatever the people say, they're going to say the spring, summer, fall, winter, or they'll say something specific. I'll repeat what they say. And then I would say, so if you were to move by the spring, when would it make sense to get in the car and start looking? I'm just peeling the onion layer back one more layer. Now, it's really important for you to know when a person wants to move by, but it's way more important for you to know when they want to get into a car and start looking. Because sometimes they'll be like, oh, next week, 2 weeks. We're going away on holidays. When we get back, we want to start looking then. Like, that's when you need to be following up. When they want to move by is important, but when they want to start looking is way more important. So I'm going to say, if you were to move by the spring, when would it make sense to get in the car and start looking? They'll tell me the answer. And then I'll repeat them, and I'll say, well, when that time comes, do you have a realtor you'll be working with? See how these questions stack on top of each other, and it's very flowing. It's really important for us to know if they're working with a realtor. Hopefully they say no. And then I would say, okay, so do you already have a home? Do you need to sell it? And like, do they need to sell? Yes or no? Are they renting? If they are renting, when is the lease up? So it's got everything pre-typed. So I'm just filling in the blanks based on what they say, and then obviously have they talked to a lender about financing, yes or no. If they are selling a home, I have a selling box on the left side of the paper. The very first question I asked them was it ever listed on the MLS? Because if they say yes, I just saved 5 to 10 minutes of conversation. I can easily pull up that old MLS and it's going to show me what they paid for it. It's going to show me how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, all that stuff. So if they say yes or no, it was listed on the MLS, I'll be able to go deeper. If they say no, what price were they thinking? So off the top of your head, what price are you thinking? Like, you've seen the listings in your area. Do you have an idea of what you're hoping to get? I'll pre-print $1 billion on there for you, so you save the time. That way you don't have to do it. And then I'll say, okay, so tell me about the house. Is it a detached? And I would go into detail. So detached, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, no garage, the basement's unfinished, new roof and windows with the date. This is the address. This is the city. So this piece of paper really flows me through. I would have this piece of paper printed, and it would be in my computer bag. It would be a stack of them would be printed, and underneath my car seat, I would obviously pull over and take the call. My kitchen cupboard, my office, in my desk, and downstairs on top of the Xbox. So no matter where I was, if I got a phone call from somebody and it was real estate related, I could flow through this piece of paper, get all their information written down. Obviously, in the future, I could add them to a database, but a lot of the times when people call you, you're not in your system. You're not at a computer, you're not in your database, you're not adding people. So this piece of paper is a really good catch-all for most of you. At the very bottom of the piece of paper is a contact log, and this is where I make my notes of the dates, times, and calls that we made. And you know what? There's only room for like 6 or so down at the bottom here. Flip the piece of paper over. You got a whole clean slate, and you can add as many notes on the back of this piece of paper as you want. Now, I would take that piece of paper. Sometimes at the end of the call, I would end up throwing them in the trash because for whatever reason I knew it wouldn't work out. But if they were going to work out, I would put them in the binder. Page 1, page 2, page 3, based on that ID number. So the very first person I called, ID number 1, that's page 1. The second person I called, ID number 2, page 2. I call number 3, the guy goes in the garbage. I call number 4, page 4 goes in. On the left side of this binder is a calendar, and I'm going to give you this so that you can print it out, and I'll zoom in as well. So on the left side, it's just a blank grid of January, February, March, April, May, June, July. What I end up doing is, in this example, it's ID number 30, which means page 30, and for some reason, I know I have to call that guy on the 3rd of April. So on the 3rd of April, I would write page 30. And I'll just fill in these blanks a little more. So as time goes forward, I'll know in April I have to pull page 30, page 17, page 2, and page 84. I'll call all of those people, and then I'll push their next call dates forward by whatever makes sense based on the conversation or lack of conversation, right? So this is a really simple way for you to not lose people in the cracks, especially the important leads. I mean, come January 1st of next year, it would be really nice if you had a whole stack of paper of leads that you could call. Now, getting away from the stack of paper, we actually do promote people use a database. And I don't care which database or CRM your company or your sphere of influence tells you to use. There's a ton of them on the market. We've done a couple webinars on them in the past. Now, what I would do is still use that piece of paper, and I would take a picture of that piece of paper and then email it to my admin. So say I called the lead today and I went through this call intake form. I would take a picture of it, email it to the admin, and they would do this, add them to the database. They would set them up on the drip plan, they would set them up on the buyer alert, and they would do the CMA. So I would email it to the right people if you're not the one who's doing it. It's amazing. Like, you definitely, most of you are not in your database while you're on the phone with these people. So having this piece of paper just makes it a lot more fluid. We even got to a point, and you can't see it, but at the bottom of our piece of paper, we had a checkbox for all the different follow-up plans and what category they should be in. So they should be in the buyer category, and they should be on this plan. And I would tick off the boxes, and the admin would set them up on the right stuff. So you definitely should be using a database, but even if you are using a database, that piece of paper system works really well for the initial phone call. Now, if you are working with a database, I've got 3 rules that will apply to any database that you're considering using. If you don't have a database and you're looking at getting one, I would suggest using or looking at Agile CRM, AGILE CRM. It's free. And they have a paid plan. It starts at $8 a month, I think. The prices could have changed, but it's really inexpensive and it's really robust and powerful. So Agile CRM, especially because it's free, you might as well start off with something. These 3 rules will apply to that database. They'll apply to Market Leader, Top Producer, Contactually, Bom Bom, iExact, Realty Juggler, like any of the other databases. These 3 rules will apply. And I had to create these 3 rules because this is what my database looked like. I started off with Top Producer in like 2007, and a couple years had passed, and I realized I don't know who any of these people are. Like, it's just a big glorified list of names and phone numbers. I had no notes on the people. I was too embarrassed to call them. So what I do, I just got a new database. I started from scratch. And this is like a cycle that real estate agents do. Every 3 to 5 years, they'll just abandon what they currently have and just start with a new database because they're like, oh, that database doesn't work. I want to try something new. Really, all databases are the same. You're just not applying the right rules. So these are the 3 rules that will apply to any database. Rule number 1, always having a next call date. If a person is valuable enough for you to take your time and add their name, phone number, and email to your database, they have to have a next call date. If they don't have a next call date, guess what? You're not going to be calling them. So 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years goes by real quick. Now you're too embarrassed to pick up the phone because it's been too long. So if they're in your database, they have a next call date. Using groups, lists, buckets, or tags. So you have to identify the people that you put into your database and not just put them all in. You have to say, these are my buyers, these are my sellers, and I'll show you how to break that down. But you have to, when you're entering people into your database, break them down into different groups, lists, buckets, or tags. And your lack of notes, I'm going to show you how to simplify your notes. Really, really important. Because if you don't have good notes, you don't know who the people are, and then you're not going to be calling these people. So you have to have good notes. So let's dig a little deeper. Rule number 1, the next call date. So this is an example of when you're adding a person to your database, it normally gives you the option to add a task or a reminder or a phone call. I don't know what database you're using, but you're basically going to be adding something like this, and I label it as next call date. So let's say I get an internet lead today. I call the guy, he doesn't answer, the guy or girl. I call them, they don't answer their phone, and I can tell based on the voice message that it's the same name as what they used when they filled in the form. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to be like, okay, so say we're on a Thursday. In this example, it's a Wednesday. So we're on a Wednesday. I'm going to call this person again on Friday. So I'm going to click on Friday and hit save. Friday, my database pulls up and says, oh, you got to call this person, this person, this person, this person. So I call them up. They don't answer their phone. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be doing an open house this Sunday, and I'll probably be doing some lead follow-up while I'm there. So I'm going to make a note, save them on the Sunday. Hit save, contact that person on the Sunday. They finally answer the phone, and we have a really good conversation. And during my qualifying questions, he's like, oh yeah, I want to hop in the car in about 2 weeks. Perfect. So I push this forward 2 more weeks. So I'm going to be like, okay, on the 19th, I want to give this guy a call. 2 weeks pass, I call the guy and he's like, you know what? We really wanted to look at homes this week, but I didn't know you can't buy a house when you're in foreclosure. So, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm like, yeah, shucks. Okay, foreclosure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this note forward for me to call January 1st of that upcoming year because time will have passed. I'm also going to end the conversation by connecting him with an independent mortgage broker or some sort of solution that I think might help if you can. But at the very least, you have to have a next call date. Obviously, calling him again in 2 weeks or 2 months is going to be too soon for this person. So I'm just going to push it forward until the 1st of next year. Come all the people I talked to this year, maybe 100 of them aren't ready to do something this year, but next year they could be. So January 1st of next year, I have my database just has a whole fresh list. It really lets me hit the ground running every year at the beginning of every year. So I save this guy to contact him January 1st of the next year and hit save. So you can see by just having the next call date, what you guys, no, I shouldn't just say what you guys do, but what a lot of people do is they'll have the next call date. After that next call date passes, they check it off like it's a done thing. It's a never done thing. You always have to keep pushing what's the next call date. Rule number 2, list groups, buckets, or tags. Depending on the database, it's labeled as something different. These are the 3 that I suggest you use. Your sphere of influence. So those are your friends, your family, and your past clients. They're either a buyer lead or a seller lead, and your goal is to get them into being your sphere of influence. People can really complicate this, and they're like your hot buyers, your cold buyers, your medium. There's like this weird temperature regulation thing, and it really throws your whole database out of whack because they're always changing their temperature. They're like, oh yeah, I want to buy. Oh no, I can't buy them in foreclosure. It's like, oh, then you have to go into your database and you have to change them from being a hot buyer to a cold buyer, right? So I don't suggest you have too many identifications. They're either a buyer or a seller or in your sphere of influence. You can go a little deeper. I really worked with investors, tenants, and agents for agent-to-agent referrals. So if you have really niche categories, you can add them, but you only need three: your sphere of influence, your buyers, and your sellers. So as an example, if I'm in my database and I have a client appreciation event coming up, I would obviously email everybody in my database. But let's say I want to do some direct mail, I could pull off who are all my sellers, and it will pull up all my sellers in my database. And because they're a seller, you obviously have their address. And now because you have their address, you can do a direct mail campaign in the spring. Maybe you want to do a mass email, and this is where I learned my lesson on the power of identifying people. And it's because I had a power of sale tour where we met up at the office and drove around and looked at 4 to 6 power sales in the area and investment properties. So I did a mass email to my entire database, and my mom replied back to me saying, "Why would I want to do this?" She wasn't being mean, but it was true. Why would my mom want to do that? So I realized the importance of identifying, oh yeah, I should have my database pull off a list of these are all my landlords, these are all my investors, because they're the people that would like that topic. Events and seminars, you got like a first-time home buyer seminar coming up, you could pull off all the people in your database that are buyers, for example. So really, really important that you identify your contacts and not just throw them all into your database. Use those 3 rules. The last one is simplifying your notes. If you don't have good notes, then you're not going to feel confident and comfortable calling these people. No matter what database you use, there's always a note section. The problem with these note sections is after you add a note and hit save, it will timestamp it. You add another note, it timestamps the new one and pushes the old one down below. When you got like 4 or 5 timestamps, 4 or 5 different notes, it's like you have to open up all these different windows and it's very complicated. You need to simplify things. So this is how I simplified it. I have the same note that I add to every contact. So when a person is added to my database, this is a Word document and I just highlight all of that text. I'll copy it and I'll paste it in as the first note. That way going forward, I just keep re-editing that one note. That way I don't have a bunch of different notes. So the very first thing at the top is the next call. The reason why this is at the top, because if you're adding, rule number 1 was the next call date. If a person has a next call date, in my notes, I should remind myself of why I made that time. So this person says they're gone to Cuba and they're back in 2 weeks. Well, in 2 weeks when I call this person, I'm going to change the next call date to whatever makes sense. So in this guy's case, he's like in foreclosure, so I'm going to call him in January of next year. So what I want to do is I want to edit this first note to say went in foreclosure last year, wants to connect in the new year. So when I'm changing my next call date, I'm also changing this note to remind me of who, what, why, when, where. That way, when my system tells me I got to call this person, I'm reminding myself of, oh yeah, I got to call him or her because of this. Let me go back one. First contact. So this is where I met the person. Was it an open house? Was it a referral? Was it a sign call? Networking event? Where did they come from? Because they won't forget. But you will, because you have people coming from a lot of different places. And I have my qualifying questions, when they want to move by, if they need to sell. Going down a little bit, cell phone request, I have the word yes. Cell phone request is when I have a lead on the phone, at the end of that conversation, I'll just say, hey Marianne, that was a great conversation. I'm definitely going to follow up. Now, by any chance, this phone that I called you at, was it your cell phone? Most people say yeah. If she says yeah, I'll be like, okay, great. What I want to do is I want to text you all my contact information so that you can save it in your phone. That way, if you see a listing on the street, in the newspaper, or you just have questions, you can easily reach me. Is that okay? She'll say yeah. So in my own phone, I added me as a contact. So pull up your phone, go to contacts, add a new contact, and I put Dan Wood, my name, my phone number, my email, my office address, my fax, all my social media, my website, my picture. I created my whole contact card. When you're in your phone, when you're looking at that contact, there's an option, no matter what phone you're using, that says share contact. I would share that contact with these people, and I just make a note in my database that I either did it or didn't do it. I don't know if they actually save me in their phone, but I know the chance is a lot greater when it's already typed out for them. If I'm just telling them, oh yeah, add me to your phone, they're not going to add you. They're going to spell your email wrong. They're just going to butcher it up. So I do all the legwork for them. Down below, see how all the lines, there's all these lines going to the right, and underneath it gives you space to write the answer. The reason for that is because while the phone is ringing, I don't need to read the question. I just need to read the answers, and I'm totally caught up. By the time the phone is ringing and they answer, my eyes can scan down this, and I'm used to reading this now, where I'm totally caught up on who they are, where they're going, what we're up to. Down at the bottom here, all these questions, their house value and type, where they bank at, any past transactions, past referrals, their likes and hobbies, their occupation, their kids, their spouse. All of that is a long-term play where I'm trying to discover this over the course of the relationship. I'm not asking these questions on the first phone call, but as time goes on, I am filling in the blanks. So for past transactions, I would put we sold them 123 Street for $300,000, and in brackets, I would put memorable things like the home inspector fell off the deck, or like certain things that they're not going to forget. And if we sell them another transaction, I'm just editing the same note, and I'm going to add what the second transaction was. Purchase 1234 Street for $450,000 with the date and the time and the address. So that way, I'm not embarrassed when I'm on the phone with a person and I don't remember their address of one of the properties that we sold them or something like that. The other thing is likes and hobbies. So if I know a person likes running, soccer, sports, cars, whatever, I make those notes. That way I can break the ice with those and pepper the conversation with relationship building things. So if I know this person likes running, I would obviously talk about running with the warm weather we're having. This is awesome, blah, blah, blah. So it adds a real human element to it, and people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. But if you don't have good notes, it's really hard for you to reciprocate that and know, like, and trust other people. The spouse, most databases don't have a spot for spouse. And so if I've been working with Amy Byers, and finally I call and Joey Byers answers the phone, I'll be like, oh, hey, Joey, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty, and I'm really excited to actually get a hold of you. I've been talking with Amy. I know what she's looking for, but what about you? What's your criteria? Now, before I had the spouse field, I wouldn't even ask. I'd be like, oh, yeah, hey, Joey, it's just Danny Wood calling for Amy. Can you ever give me a call? Like, because I don't know him. I haven't met him yet. Once I know him, I would obviously have a conversation. But if it's an internet lead, I would normally just deal with that one person. But with this, and I know who the other person is, it lets me go a little deeper. Because I'm not good with remembering names, especially like internet names. You're dealing with hundreds, thousands a month. Like you can't retain all that knowledge. So you have to have good notes. Speaking of notes, it will show you the voids. So I'll be like, oh, I never asked this person if they need to sell, if they're financed, or if they're working with a realtor or a broker. And so by seeing the holes in what's open, I can, on my next phone call, I'll know, okay, my next call, he's going to Cuba, but I also have to touch base with this guy because I don't know if he's working with a realtor. Okay, so those three things are the main ideas that you need to master when working with any database, and they apply. They'll work with all databases. Now I'm going to give you a 90-day game plan that is going to show you how to work your referrals and reconnect with people, because the number one complaint our industry has is our lack of contact. So we don't follow up with people, especially after a deal is done. So you close a property today, and then how many of you had stayed in touch with those people for the last 4 years, 3 years, consistently? I mean, if you want those repeat customers, you have to stay in touch with people. So I'm going to give you a 90-day game plan that will allow you to reconnect with your database. So you're going to be able to print this off. It's a Word document. I'm going to email it to you. You can print it off. It's full of scripts and everything else. So I'll go through a Coles Note version of it, and then I'll actually open up the Word document and go through it step by step. So this is the Coles Note version. This is the referral game plan, and the idea is to print your database and staple the pages together. So whatever your database is, you'll be able to print it off as an Excel sheet, and you'll have 20, 30 pieces of paper, and you staple them all together. You're going to count how many contacts you have and divide that number by 12. The reason why we're dividing by 12 is because 12 weeks equals 90 days. And what I want to do is break it down into smaller chunks. So if I know I have 300 people in my database, as an example, I'll divide that by 12 weeks. That gives me 25 people per week that I have to call. If I call 25 people per week for the next 12 weeks, by the end of it, I would have contacted all 300 people. And it's a lot easier for you to manage calling 25 people a week. I mean, that can even be 5 people a day if you break it down smaller. So it's a lot easier to break things down. So in that case, if I had 25 people to call, I would take that piece of paper that I stapled together and count down by 25 people and draw a line. Count down 25 more people, draw another line. What's going to end up happening is you'll have 12 equal groups of people. Each group is a week. Group 1, week 1. Group 2, week 2. And so on. So this is a really, really simple plan. Now, you need scripts. I'm going to give you 4 different scripts. This is just one of the scripts that I want to give you. But I got this idea from Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's a very motivational guy. He influenced a lot of public speakers and coaches. And he had a little seminar that he did. And he was talking about, he came from the multi-level marketing world, where they sell like potions and lotions and stuff like that. Anyways, that's what he did. And he said that everything was a promotion. So he broke it down into, okay, this month we're calling all the teachers, and then next month we're calling all the stay-at-home moms, and then next month we're calling all the whatever. So in real estate, I'm like, yeah, I need a promotion, not a discount, not discounting my service, but I need something where somebody says, hey, Danny, what's up, what's new? I have an answer that's different. So every 90 days, I would come up with a new promotion. So my promotion this month would be the house values, because we want to get more listings. So I would do an email blast to my database. I would do Facebook ads to my database, and then I would start calling my database, all based on this one promotion. The promotion is just the topic, house values. At the end of this 90 days, what's my next topic? Maybe I'll do the client appreciation event. And for the next 90 days, 3 months, I'll be talking to people and getting them primed up for our client appreciation event. And while I'm having those conversations, I'm reminding them who I am and what I do. I'm asking for referrals. I'm cleaning up my database. It's a really good process. So this is an example of one script. I'll say, I'm going to read the script. It says, hey, Joey, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty. I hope I caught you at a good time. Pause and let them answer. Okay, great, Joey. I'm just calling because we're updating the local house value reports, and I was curious if you're interested in seeing that, or might know somebody who is, because we do this every year. So what I'm doing here, I'm not reading a script anymore. So by me saying, let me point it out, we're updating the local house value reports, and I was curious if you're interested in seeing that, or might know somebody who is. The reason I add or might know somebody who is because a lot of the people, they're not interested. So I'm saying or might know somebody who is, meaning point me in another direction. Just, you don't have to be the one selling, just you know somebody else who is. Then I ended off with a ... because we do this every year. And the reason why I say that is because I know this time next year I'm going to be running the same promotion. I'm going to be calling these people, updating them about the house value report. So I end off by saying because we do this every year, because we do. And I want people to know that. So depending on the script you pick, and I'll show you the other scripts in just a second, you're going to be calling your database. So this is the piece of paper on the left, and you can see how it's broken down into easy chunks. Each chunk is a week. And also, you can see what's missing. So let me use my mouse here. So I can see I'm missing the spouse's name, I'm missing their cell phone, I'm missing their email. Most of you are going to be missing their mailing address. So while I call this person, Joey, and I'm talking to him about the house value report, I'll be like, hey, notice I don't have your mailing address. And every year we mail out some pretty cool swag, and I don't want you to miss out. What's the best mailing address? And I'll update my system to get his current mailing address. Or I'll see I don't have his email. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I don't want you to miss out because we have a client appreciation event coming up, and I'm going to be emailing that out. What's the best email to get that info to you? So not only are you trying to get referrals, but you're also trying to clean up your database and make it more complete. When you have a complete database, that makes your mass email more powerful because there's more people on it. It makes your direct mail actually usable because you actually have addresses where you can now do direct mail. So these are a couple of the examples of promotions or topics. House values is one. Home buyer referrals is another. Client appreciation events is another. So let's take a look at that Word document that I'm going to give you. Now, this 90-day challenge was sponsored by Bom Bom, but you don't have to use Bom Bom. What Bom Bom is, it's a really cool tool that allows you to send video from your phone. So I use this when I'm following up with people. I use it when I'm calling my database. Some things with your database, you don't want to call the people because it's been a while and you feel like, ugh, I haven't talked to them in a long time. Well, I'll send those people a video instead, and it's a passive way to reshake the tree and to reconnect with people. So I really like Bom Bom, but you don't need to have Bom Bom. You can just, as long as you have a list of people to call and a phone number, then you'll be able to do this 90-day challenge. If you do want more information on the Bom Bom, brokerage.nation.com/BomBom has a 90-day challenge where it unlocks the, weekly reminders for you. It has a video that takes you through the process. You can get a Bom Bom account here as well. But moving forward, you don't need Bom Bom. You can just call. So let's say you're ready to get started. This is the Word document that I have here. You're going to print this off, and I would print this off, and then it's going to be a lot easier for you to digest it when you're reading it on your own, but I'm going to skim through it to kind of help you out a little. So if you're ready to get started, you take the number of contacts in your database and divide that number by 12. So you're going to write, my database has 300 people, or whatever your number is. You take whatever this number is that you wrote in that and divide it by 12. So 300 divided by 12 is 25. But you're going to have a different number. Maybe you've got 680. Maybe you've got 425. So you're going to have odd numbers. And anyways, whatever that number is, divided by 12, and it's going to give you a smaller number. This is the number of people that you're going to call per week for the next 12 weeks. So for the next 12 weeks, I'll contact 25 people based on my number. Now, take your contacts printed out. Now, I don't know how you're going to print off your database because you've all got different databases, but if you don't know how, just message them and say, how do I export my database into Excel? They've all got a tutorial showing you how. So however you do that, you're going to basically hit print and staple all the pages together, and then you're going to count down by whatever your number is. So my number is 25. I'm going to count down 25, draw a line, and this is going to break them in. And in the Word document, I have this video. You can click this blue text here, and that will open up the video showing you how I do it. Now, once you have your database broken down into your 12-week chunks, the idea is you call them on Monday and use one of the scripts that are below. I'll get to that in a second. If they don't answer, you call them again on Wednesday. If they still don't answer, don't leave a voicemail, because what you're going to do is you're going to call them again on Friday. And for anyone who's still not reached, I would either send them a Bom Bom video or leave them a voicemail. And then move on to the next group the next week. So say there's people you missed like 5 of the people, they never answered the phone. Well, you left a voicemail, you sent them a video, you sent them an email, you sent something to let them know why you were calling. Move on to the next group of people. This is also a great exercise to clean up your database. Oh, let me zoom in. There you go. So this is also an exercise to clean up your database and form a new habit of calling consistently. So go ahead and be as aggressive as you want, but those who stay consistent over time will always win the game. And that's why we want to break it down into smaller chunks. If you don't have a database, that's fine. You can search your friend list on social media. So if you go to your Facebook page, your Facebook profile, click on friends, it will show you all your friends. You can even type in, let me do it. Let me go to Facebook. I don't control Facebook, so I don't know what we're about to see here. Hopefully it's not bad. All right, cool. Okay, so if I say friends who live in Oshawa. So I just did a search for friends who live in Oshawa, and it put together, oh, why didn't that work? Oh, it did work. Yeah, I just got a lot of them, obviously. Okay, so here it showed me all of my friends who live in the Oshawa area. So I can go down this list, and it's going to be a pretty big list. If you keep scrolling down, it'll keep refreshing. Look at all these people. I could pick up the phone, call them, and start like get their name, their phone number, their email. If I don't get their name, phone number, email from Facebook, I'll send them a private message on Facebook. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can grow a database from scratch. So a pro tip is whatever database you use, your contacts should be saved as a list or a group. If all your contacts go into a database, it becomes unmanageable if you don't identify these people into smaller lists, such as past clients, sphere of influence, buyers, sellers, and yada yada. I already went over that. Now, you have to pick a reason to call. So why are you going to be calling these people? You got your list broken down into your 12-week chunks. Now we got to pick a reason to call them. So how do you call? This was my problem. My mindset back in the day. I'm like, how do I call 3 to 4 times a year, every year, and not feel like a pest? Like I really felt like a scab calling these people and asking for referrals until I came up with this system. And think of it as a seasonal promotion, a reason to be reaching out, and a way to reconnect. So for the next 90 days, you'll pick one of the scripts that are below, and I'll get to them. After your 12 weeks, you can do it again with a different script. By the third or fourth round, you can start the cycle over again using script 1. So you don't have to do it every 90 days because most of you aren't doing it regardless. So if you did a 90-day plan and then took off a couple weeks and then started it up again, if you just did it a couple times a year, that's way more than what most agents are doing. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to be the lowest common denominator, but you should definitely get into the habit, and eventually you'll grow that muscle and be very strong with it, and you'll be like, no, I'm doing it 3 times a year, 4 times a year. But most of you just got to get started. You can come up with your own scripts and mini promotions, like inviting them to seminars, a client appreciation party, VIP construction events. Maybe you got a new build that's opening, or a home show or something coming up. Here's a couple examples of scripts that I typed out. So there's the house value one. So I would call and say, hey Joey, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty. I hope I caught you at a good time. Pause and let them answer. Okay, great, Joey. I'm just calling because we're updating the local house value reports, and I was curious if you were interested in seeing that, or might know somebody who is, because we do this every year. Obviously, the conversation isn't done. I'm going to end with a real conversation. I'm going to get any missing information. Like, I'm not going to be a robot. You're not just reading the script and that's it. You're calling these people to have a real conversation. What does updating the house value reports mean? Updating the house value reports is simply this. Every time a home sells, it changes the local values, right? If you have a home, the neighbor sells. If they sold for more or less than you, obviously that's going to impact you. So every time you do a CMA, you are updating and delivering a report to that individual. We were just making it sound like you're already updating the reports. That way they don't feel like they're bothering you. So if a person is interested in that, I actually would do a CMA for them based on their street. I would pull off all the sales that have happened, all the listings, all the price changes, like everything, and then email that to them or have them come into the office and get them a report. If they say we rent, I would talk to them about buying. Offer them a list of homes that carry for the same monthly that they're paying right now. So if they're paying $1,400 a month in rent, I would show them, hey, there's a list of condos that you could probably own for $1,400 a month, and I would show them that. Another example would be a buying message. So I would call people up and say, hey, Joey, actually, I'll use Marianne. Hey, Marianne, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty. I hope I caught you at a good time. Pause and let them answer. Okay, Marianne, I'm just calling because I'm updating my MLS buyer alerts, and I'm reaching out to my sphere to see if you know anybody that could benefit from watching the market. Even if they're just thinking, that's okay. And then I would pause, let them answer, and end with a real conversation. If I'm missing her email or her address, I'll get that. And you'll get many people that say, no, sorry, I don't, and that's okay, because you're really just doing is building local mindshare and cultivating your database for future referrals anyways. The people who are ready now, it's just a bonus that they're ready. The tip of the iceberg, really. Reminding them who you are and what you do consistently is the number one key to the referral business. Keep planting those seeds and building relationships because it pays off big time. So don't get down because most of the people are like, no, I'm happy. Of course they're happy. They're not moving. Like, how often do you move? People don't move every year. They move 3 to 7 years is like the typical time frame. Financing is another great reason. So if you, let me close Facebook. Financing is another great reason to be calling people. So I would call somebody up and say, hey, Marianne, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty. Hope I caught you at a good time. Awesome. I'm just calling people I know because our mortgage partner is currently offering, and I would pick one, a refinancing, a purchase plus an investment, a zero down, like whatever your lender currently has as a promotion, I would leverage that. So I would fill in the blank with whatever that is, and I thought I'd run it by you in case you're interested. So this is just me reaching out using my own network. So I've got you could use your lawyers, you could use whoever, and if they have promotions, you could use that as a reason to be contacting people. So this is a good example of a full script that I think most of you should start with, and this is why I made it a full one page. Seller alerts. So before I call people, I'll pull up the listings and sales that are on their street so I have it when they answer the phone. That way I sound smart and I know what's going on in the market. If I don't know the address, I'm at least already logged into my MLS. That way I can quickly pull it up. So this is the script I call people with. I'd say, hey, Marianne, it's Danny Wood at ABC Realty. Did I catch you at a good moment? They say, yeah. I'd say, okay, great. I'll be quick, and I think you'll be interested. It's about the real estate on your street. Now, I'm not expecting you to be moving, but we have a fun way for you to watch the market. Basically, we'll email you when new listings and price corrections hit your street. It's a passive way to window shop and compare from the comfort of your home. It's completely free, and it might be a fun way just to see what's happening. You can tell me to stop anytime. Now, what's the best email to send that to? Would you be interested? You can see all the pictures, the photos, and it's not going to be, I'm just talking now. That's not part of the script, but I'm elaborating. So I'm just elaborating a little more and hoping that she's like, yeah, that's cool, sign me up. So basically all I'm really doing here is I'm setting her up as a buyer on our local MLS to be alerted to all the homes that are within a radius of her home. Now, that's one of the best drip plans that you can put a person on. Our system, our MLS, has a 3-month window. Every 3 months, you have to reset people up. It expires. So that gives me a reason to reconnect with people every 3 months because it's expiring, and I just want to make sure that they still want that. So I would repeat their answer. They'd say, okay, great. I'd say, okay, great. What's the exact address? And they'll tell me the address. And I'll say, awesome, okay, I'll set that up. The system needs to be reset over time, so I'll check in from time to time if that's okay, no pressure. That is awesome. You should definitely get your entire database and network. If you don't, this is what you should start with. I'm telling you. It's an easy drip plan. It's not spammy. It's not like they're getting tons of listings like every day. It's real estate related, and it's not that canned fluff that you guys are sending with mass email. By this point, they will hint about moving. Obviously, I would dig deeper, but if they aren't moving, I'll ask if they know anybody who is moving this year. If I got the address, I'll send them a handwritten note, a magnet, a business card, lotto tickets, gift card. I'll send them something in the mail. Right now, what I'm sending people is brownies. And then I'll add them to my database. So you can use the 3 calls above year over year, and people will be fine with that. There's an industry survey that shows that they actually want it. You can click that link. Bonus calls. A client appreciation event is a great bonus call. Let me just read this. A client appreciation event is a great way to connect, but you don't want to spread out the calls over a 12-week period, so consider that as a 4th option and call them all in like a week to 2 to 3 weeks. And I would say something like this. I want to invite you to our barbecue, movie night, pumpkin giveaway, plus whatever else you're doing. Fill in the blank, and was hoping you could make it. And I would send them the mass Bom Bom video. It's perfect for that. Make a generic video. You can send it off. So connecting with people, really easy. Bonus call number 2 would be on their birthday. So if your system is telling you when they're... Oh, let me show you that. Here is a good one. Let me go back to Facebook. Over on the right should tell me birthdays. So see this little picture of a gift? Oops. Scroll down. You might have to scroll down a bit. Here it is. If I click on birthdays, I'm going to hit the other. Then if I hit see upcoming birthdays, this shows me all of the upcoming birthdays. Look at all these upcoming birthdays. So it's telling me when so August 5th, birthday. August 6th, birthday. Oh, my mom's birthday, August 6th. Good thing I looked. So birthday. So this kind of gives me a heads up of when all these birthdays are, so I could get my admin to enter all this into my database if that was something that you wanted to leverage. Pretty cool. Okay, so the plan is starting with week 1. So this Monday, upcoming Monday, you'll call whatever your number is, 25, 8, 32, whatever your number is. That should actually be a blank. You'll call whatever your number of contacts is, and you'll only reach a few. They don't all answer the phone. So on Wednesday, you call the rest. They're not reached again. Don't leave a message, because on Friday, you're going to call them again, and then simply send them a Bom Bom video, email, or leave them a voicemail with whatever that call was about. So you're going to call the person, so say it's the seller one. I want to call the person and say, hey Joey, I tried calling a few times this week because we're updating the house values again, but more importantly, I was just reconnecting. I'll catch you next time. If you know anybody, simply reply, thanks. Like, I'm just peppering it. They don't have to call me back. I'm just moving on to the next one. So those are a couple of the voicemails I would send people. Next week, move on to the next group. Group 1, week 1. Group 2, week 2. This forces you not to skip any people. Playing favorites is too easy, and you'll be surprised how many people will respond when you simply reach out to them. Keep doing... Oh, Facebook, close. Keep doing this till all the groups are done. At the end of the 12-week period, you would have just reached all the people in your database, and now you can start over again. Remember, this is a relationship-building business, and it's been 90 days since you last called Group 1, Week 1. So they can hear your voice again. It's been 90 days, 3 months, so you can easily reconnect with those people. It's okay to take a month off, but set your phone to remind yourself to start again in 30 days. You can do it as a team if you wanted. Here's an example of a year. So 3 months of calling based on the house values, take a month off. 3 months of calling with the financing or lender script, take a month off. 3 months of calling with the buyer script, take a month off. Plus you could use the birthdays as a bonus call as suggested above. Now, I'm not going to read this stuff. We're going over time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the questions and answer any questions. Hopefully the people that ask questions are still here. And if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. I'm going to email you guys this Word document. I'm going to email you the time blocking tool. I'm going to email you the call intake sheet. And I'm going to email you the calendar so you can print it all off. And the question says, do you mean 9 follow-up calls as an example, 9 45-minute sessions? So that was during the note. Okay, so let me go back to the Word document and zoom in here. Okay, so my goal every day is to do 9 of these things. So follow-up calls, I might only do 3 of them. Prospecting, I might do another 3. Written notes, I would do another 3. If I don't have any follow-up calls to make, then I would do more written notes and more prospecting. And my goal isn't to necessarily to get it all done in 45 minutes, because that might take you longer than 45 minutes. The goal of the 45-minute is anything less than that and you don't build momentum. If it's like a half hour or less, you really don't have the momentum. So I set an egg timer for 45 minutes and I start the task. Doesn't mean that I'm going to get done in 45 minutes, but I'm not doing anything else for that 45 minutes. I'm just focusing on that one thing. And that one thing is business building, following up, prospecting, or written notes. I hope that was the answer to your question. Any other questions? Should you schedule personal items in the CRM? Should you schedule personal items in that CRM? Yeah, you could. Yes and no. I don't, because I put them all directly in my phone. That's how I do that. I guess that answer would be dependent on how you use your database. But yeah, you could definitely schedule your own stuff as a reminder for you, and that might force you to keep using your database more consistently, so that's good. Oh, time in. So okay, yeah. So maybe you have some health goals, like exercising an hour a day and stuff like that. You could add that. You could this Word document you can change to be whatever you want. I just pre-wrote the ones that I know agents need and managers need. You guys need to be following up with people. If you don't have anybody to follow up with, obviously you should be prospecting. If you don't have a list to prospect, then you should be working referrals and just contacting the people you know. If nothing else, all those things are a no-go, then resort to the gratitude and written notes, because that helps you with building a database and contacting people. Cool. Okay. That was it for questions, I guess. Very good. Okay, I'm going to stick around. All of you guys are free to go. I'm going to get this video up and then all of the information for you, and I'll post what the next date and time is after we do that. So I appreciate you all sticking around. I'm going to hang on for like another minute in case somebody's typing out a long question. If, for whatever reason, you do have a question and you don't even know how to ask questions, then I'll take my email. So if you have a question, you can email me. coaching@danwood.ca. So remember, it's .ca like California or Canada. Cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all. I'm going to hang up now and look forward to the next session. I'll keep you posted on what and when it's about. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, if you want to close more real estate transactions, get more buyer leads, and get more seller leads, click this button right here. It'll take you to our real estate group coaching page. Also, if you like this video and want more, you can subscribe by pressing this, or you can check out some of my past videos here. Enjoy!